Get in. Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. Thought I'd jump in and bring one of my beautiful friends and clients, Kaylee Murphy, on to have a chat today. Welcome, Kaylee.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Hi.
Yeah, it's great. I thought it might give everyone a bit of an idea of what it's like to kind of create your own mastermind offer, put it out to market, and get some clients in and get some results and sort of talk a little bit more about that journey, some things that worked well, maybe some things you found a bit more challenging or difficult, and just sort of share your experience. And everyone on the call as well, or listening live, or even hashtag replay if you come in after, to just ask any questions of myself or Kaylee. I'm going to keep track in the comments here as well, just who's on. What I do want to check is that we are actually live and broadcasting so that people can actually see what's going on here and make sure that we're actually on, because that can be, yeah, I can see it here. So that would be good. I'll just take this eCam. Right, okay. Looks like we're on. We haven't got, I don't think we've got anyone on yet, but that's okay. People will come on as they will. And for those watching the replay, we can kind of dive in. So, Kaylee, you are a psychotherapist working in clinic. You're based in near Maryland, aren't you? Where are you based?
Yeah, Boston.
Boston. Oh, you're in Boston now. Why did I think you were in Maryland? That's weird. Okay. So in Boston, in clinic, you had a pretty busy practice, right? Helping people across a wide range of issues that you were helping them break through. A lot of insurance kind of clients too, coming in for one-off sessions. And what was sort of feeling like you were stretching for something more with that? Like what were you kind of searching to do outside of that practice, or what perhaps wasn't working
I mean,
as well?
I think
Tell me
there's
a
a
bit about
couple
that.
of things like the freedom, that I wanted. It's as much as I loved what I was doing, it was like hour after hour after hour after hour, and I was burning out. And I really couldn't figure out any way to scale. And so it was just me working more hours if I wanted to make more money. And my price was kind of set by the insurance companies as well. So I couldn't even like raise my prices. So I felt really trapped. And I also I knew that I wanted to crack the code on this online world so that I could ultimately create my own prices, work the way I wanted to work. And I love traveling. I've traveled a lot since we've met, and I want to keep traveling and like working in different countries and all over the world. That's like my dream for the next, the future.
Yeah,
And right now.
and
So
we kept missing each other in Italy just this last October.
I
It would have been
know.
great to have crossed paths and had a catch up, but it's been great that you've been able to still have some time out as you're morphing your business into something that can be a lot more leveraged. And really, I guess when you came to speak to me and then joined the Mastermind Success Secrets program, it was really about, if memory serves me correctly, you wanted to get that leverage and that scale. You had created some content around emotional eating and helping people through that issue and struggle that so many of us have, myself included. Tell me a little bit about why you were drawn to that and how it was easier for you to kind of drill down into that, given that you have a wide range of expertise in helping people through their issues. Tell me how you landed on emotional eating as a specialty.
Well, I think, a couple things, but after my own struggles around emotional eating after a horrific breakup, and it's funny because as a therapist, we don't use that. That's not a word I use, so I didn't know what it was. We have diagnoses, and I that's not an actual diagnosis, but it is something that people say. I struggle with emotional eating. So I didn't really know what it was. And a client was talking to me about that a therapy client for some other stuff, when she was sharing some of her struggles. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this emotional eating thing? I think that's what I'm struggling with. And I just started to look into it, and I thought, this really brings everything I love together: the health, the nutrition, the mindset, mindfulness, some of the
Mm.
therapy methods I love. And I thought maybe this could be my thing that I bring into my online business.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess you were kind of putting that together as well in a bit of a course and something that people could
yeah,
access remotely, but it hadn't really taken off as you'd like. You tried a couple of like little, or not little, but marketing methods to get things
yes,
moving. Do you want to just
I
tell me a
did.
bit
And
about
like I
that?
kept resorting to offline because my practice was so full I could tell people or hang up a sign, but again, it's not what I really wanted, so I kept being really trapped and I couldn't figure out. And really, when we met, I was running some online offline programming, but
Mm.
again, it was with insurance and in my office and the things I didn't want to do. And so that's when we started to talk about how I could have this online mastermind program.
And really sort of put together. So we kind of stepped that through a little bit and worked with what you already had in terms of that knowledge and training
Mhm.
around breaking people through that problem. And because that's the thing, I think that's what we all experience, is that we know what we do works, but it's just getting to more people. And if we, I mean, for you, you were getting people in your clinic to sign up for from memory, like a
Mhm.
10-week in-person group
Yes.
program, but a
Mhm.
much lower level of investment. So trying to get sort of momentum from that so you could break through from your one-on-one sessions was really difficult. So we wanted to work out, well, if we create this program, a mastermind offer where you could still have that intimacy, support, and guidance and that customization to really get people through, because emotional eating isn't just a, hey, watch an online course and you're going to bust through all your problems. As we well know, like habit changing and transformation does require that connection and accountability and troubleshooting individual issues, but an overall framework that you were moving them through. So I think what was good with you is that we had an idea of where you're heading. You had been able to niche down,
Mhm.
but it was still a matter of how do we package that up in a way that you can be welcoming people in, and it's something that you could scale up. Now, I knew from having emotional eating specialist clients beforehand that Facebook was an amazing platform for this message, and that has definitely proved to be true. I think it's been an easy kind of way to get in front of people that there's no way just in your clinic in Boston you would have been able to reach out to, right? Um,
Right.
but we were able to then, once we had the package and the pricing, we were able to say, okay, how do we get this out there? So maybe even talking on the packaging. So you decided that the ultimate kind of outcome was how long and what sort of deliverables were you offering with
I
the
still
program?
stuck with the 10 weeks. We
Yep.
talked about it. I thought the 10 weeks seemed appropriate. I felt really good about that.
Yep.
Um, and so that was the outcome, with exactly as you said, like modules
Mm-hmm.
that would give them the information, and then through the group and through some one-on-one touch, because I did decide that that would ultimately, my clients could use a little bit of private time with me,
Mm-hmm.
and that would also make me feel confident about where I was to, because the price is so much more than what I was charging and getting,
Yeah.
that helped me cross that bridge and say, like, well, if I give them a little one-on-one, it's a
Yeah.
little easier for me to put my head around this, so I
That
could confidently sell it, which was
Yeah,
exciting.
because there is something definitely about embodying that price, the
Yeah.
up-leveling in price, because
Mhm.
we know our transformation is valuable, but it feels like if it's not flowing at a lower level, how on earth is it going to flow at a higher level? And all those fears and insecurities come up about your worth and how can you do that? So what we want to try and do is really put a lot of those program features and just make them really juicy and valuable and put them together so it's that we are kind of offering that overall outcome. And I think with yours it was so powerful in terms of, yes, they still get that support from someone who works in the field, is trained and qualified to help them, but they can also have the support of others in the group potentially, but also have the course that they can dive into. So if people have created a course, you can definitely wrap that up in here,
Mhm.
and you're still repackaging it enough to really
Yeah.
increase that value. So once we had that and we kind of landed at the $3,000 price point,
Mhm.
it was like, okay. So Kaylee was like, are you sure? And it was like, are
Like,
you
you can go
sure about
higher. And I was
this?
like, no.
I don't know about that.
Let me
Yes.
do let me do this for a few people. But I think honestly that's what's helped me so much is that I had to have the reflection from you, right? To say,
Yeah.
this is the right price, this is what you can do. Other people are doing it, and
Yeah.
because even though I wanted it so badly,
Mm,
I guess I couldn't really believe it for myself. If I was all by myself, isolated,
mm.
trying to do this
Yeah.
or reading a book or something, I wouldn't have really been able to. Because if I got one no, I would have went running away. Because you're
Yeah.
going to get some no's, right? And
Well,
so, but if I
absolutely.
had one no, I would have been like, forget it, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I really needed that like reflection from you to be like, okay, like
Yeah.
this will do.
Yeah, like sometimes you need to borrow other people's belief in you, and it's important. And if you had have just kind of, run that through with family or friends, they probably would have said, "What? You can't charge $3,000 for that." Like that's what everyone's kind of default is. And
Mhm.
sure, if you just put up a sales page for your course and said, "Hey, it's $3,000," guess what? You probably wouldn't sell any, and no one would invest that. But when we create this plan of packaging the value, as we said, but then also getting out to targeted potential buyers and connecting with them on a really human level too. I think that's one of the elements that was quite successful in what we created together, which was, I said to you, the cornerstone of you going into this, this specialty, this niche, whatever it might be, is that it was your personal experience, right? Like
Yeah.
really it was born from your personal experience. So
Mhm.
one of the important things then to move to ads and building up Kaylee's audience and list and attracting them into a webinar, which we will go into as well, how we kind of put that together. But just the way that we could write these posts that were really from the heart and your personal experience. And people might go, oh God, you must have had a little bit of like, oh God, Victoria. And I remember when I was also pushing you to go live and do lives, you're like, oh, I don't know. And you kind of got in the groove with that, right? But
Mhm.
we, just to even share, in one of the ads, and I'm sure you won't mind me sharing this because we popped it in a Facebook ad. So it's out there now, and I'm sure it doesn't
Yeah.
even kind of, register anymore now that you've kind of broken through putting your story out there. But, we sort of put in there, one day at the shop, someone said to you, are you pregnant? You felt like that was kind of your watershed moment of, I've got to do something about this.
Yes, and
Um,
that's true. When I got asked if I was pregnant only a couple years ago, I was like, I've got to do something. I'm like out of control.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and I think again, this helped me also because in my therapy training, we're not allowed to talk about ourselves.
Mm, mm.
Um, so to disclose something like that, but that's how you have to connect with your people online, and so that was really important that I kind of do that.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
that's a really good point, particularly for people who are coming out of a clinic, whether they're a health coach, a psychotherapist, or some other specialist. Those kind of, I guess, guidelines, regulations, things that you have
Yep.
to, it has to be that you can only offer session by session. It has to be all about the patient. Most people are largely relying on referrals rather than going out and getting more clients. And if traditionally clinicians might try and get patients, they might be like, right, this is what I do, and all in their expert. Whereas what we did is we kind of broke that right down and made it like, yes, you get it because you've been there, and this is like the nuts and bolts of your experience. So
Right.
not only have you experienced it, you also have a framework that you implemented yourself, that you've learnt, that you've also had success with in your clinic and in your practice, to then bring that together as a really powerful proposition to your buyers. And I think that that sort of combination worked really well in that we could put that in an ad, and people get to kind of know you. And even Facebook ads have an amazing ability to give you a level of authority just by being sort of a personality in a way, like you're showing up in their feed, you're sharing a story, that's connection and engagement, like straight up there. And then have the call to action at the end, which is where we bring them into your auto webinar. So, and the webinar is like a process like this. It's not just a tick the box. It's work, right? We did several iterations. You really stepped up and did a few lives to really get it right. So tell me about that process. What sort of felt like, okay, you could really express what you were doing, but also warts and all. Like, it was overwhelming. Sometimes it's frustrating, right? Getting it all out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's been really key for me here is that you provided so much framework and coaching around that then I could feel confident about kind of filling in my personal pieces. And this has really been what I've needed, right? Because is that kind of like confidence, like, okay, yeah, keep going with that. Or, hey, why don't you change this up a bit here? And so that really helped me kind of piece everything together. We brainstormed about the title, the topic, I mean, everything. Yeah. So all those things just felt like a really good collaboration. Yeah. And then and then it also kind of gave me, even though I was super anxious, confidence, because even when I'd be like,
I love that super anxious confidence. I think we can all relate to that.
But even you're like, listen, people are clicking on your ads. They want this. Yeah. Like if I was like, oh no, you're like, if they wouldn't be clicking on your ads if they didn't want this webinar, they want it. And so, so then I did like my 5 in a row.
Yeah. You kept going, which also you wouldn't have on your own. You wouldn't have done that for a start.
We would have a webinar
all over the place, and
wouldn't have known what to do, and then I would have given up after one time. I would have just said, you know what, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. I am a therapist. I can't do this online thing. And so you're just like, keep going, and like, good job, keep going, and so I think like. I lost like electricity one time, and it was just, but then I hit it like on the 5th one.
Then it was like you were rolling, you had people raising their hands to have a conversation with you, and then you could offer them the program, and you welcome in pretty much in that round. Did you have, was it about 3 or 4 women? I can't remember sort of the first round. You've already kind of worked with them over that time now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple women come in, and then more along the way. I got so many discovery sessions that I almost,
you were overwhelmed, right? Like there was
because I was so busy in the clinic, and then I had like all these discovery sessions pouring in, and it took me a little while to get the system. Yes. You were like, share your calendar link. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'd be going back and forth and then lose some of them. Yeah. So there was like some pieces I had to learn just in the flow, but like people were like, I want this.
Yeah. And the ones who had invested have been able to then work with you and say, I think I've got my problems kind of under control. We were almost like doing yourself out of a role in the end, because they were like, I think I've got this figured. And then we could then say, this is when people say to me, about working with me over a longer period of time. And the current round is over 12 months. And some people are like, 12 months, I want to kind of get results quicker than that. And we can, but when you get a result, there's then the next level to dive into, to iterate and shape and evolve. And for you, it was like, okay, what first next level was you had so many consult requests, it was you couldn't even get to them, right? So how do we then address that? And then the other is like, well, this program's so efficient, you've solved one major problem. What's the next level of problem that they may want to dive into that you can get them into the next level of program or offer, right?
Right, which is like where I'm at, now. It's like that piece of it.
Yeah,
right?
You have that.
So for my folks that are finishing up, it's like figuring that part out. But I think that there are these continued levels, and then it's even like, once you charge a certain price, you're ready to bump it up. It's like, okay, like, let me go. So then it's like, how does your offer have to transform, whether, so that you can go to that next level. So
Yeah, and
I
often
your
we start.
container, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we start a little bit lower because I also know that people feel a little, uncomfortable going from, a couple of $100 to a few thousand, right? But and you've experienced this, you've moved into that, served people and felt like, yeah, okay, right. I do deliver great results. Let's go to the next level and
Yeah.
the next rung. And that may not be about creating anything new. It's just about having the confidence to get there and move through that as well, which I think is super important. And do you feel as well, as some of that you were diving in with the new clients, but there's also, the chance to go, okay, well, how can I scale this? How can I welcome more people in, get them working
Yeah.
more together and feeding off each other as well? It would be super
Yeah, and I
valuable.
think, even I'm like, okay, I don't have to give as much of this personal time. Like, how can I reserve some of my own time, have it
Yes.
be like use the group more efficiently, help the group collaborate? Like there's a lot of ways to scale up from what I've got going right now that are like the next steps.
Yeah, and I think that some of that takes time too because you've still got a really busy clinic. And we've talked about this too. Like the next level is kind of, swinging from one vine and letting it go to grab the
Yes.
other. Because
Yes.
as we all know, and I'm sure in the group, so many of you are aware, as soon as you start implementing marketing strategy or sitting there, particularly if you haven't got accountability or mentor or a group like we've been working in, it can be just like you don't know where to focus your attention next. Like what's going to be the most leverageable action you can take to move to that next step. And I can clearly see that for you, but
Yeah.
then it feels like you've got to let go of the money in the door every week to go to a much higher level in terms of your average customer value will move from what, like $100 to $3,000 at the moment, but perhaps beyond. And that gives you such exponential growth and the opportunity for that it's pretty amazing, but you need to kind of free up your time to be able to switch between those, which I can clearly see for you is there. And also, getting more familiar with your ads and going, okay, like
Yes.
you hadn't done any before, and I set them up for you, got you all sorted, and would go in and just say, look, just get used to looking at the metrics. How many clicks have you got? How many ever webinar registrations? So once Kaylee had landed on the webinar that converted, we go, great, let's pop it on automation. And how freeing is that you've done the work now and how many people would have seen it? And you haven't even had to show up live, right?
I know, it just runs all the time.
It just
Yeah.
runs all the time. And there's more than enough people on Facebook to keep targeting and get there. But it is about learning, okay, well, how do we refresh that? What do we change? How do we optimize and convert and move along with that as well? So I think that's an important piece to sort of, keep that momentum and what we do in Mastermind Success Secrets too. Yeah.
Yeah, right. The next step also getting more for me is getting more Facebook savvy so that can look at them myself and say, oh, maybe this should be tweaked or whatever.
Yes, but you got a higher level of familiarization than you did have, right? Like, had you run any ads before? I'm trying to remember if you had or you hadn't.
No, a real long time ago when it didn't look anything like this.
Yeah.
What's now? So when I came to start with you, I'm like, I don't even know what this. It just was so complicated.
Yeah.
But that's what really helped is at the beginning having you, be there to help get that going.
Yeah, and just like go, okay, don't worry, I'll whack your ads up. We'll just get it moving. Let's check what's happening. And I think that I can see that as a real stumbling block. And a lot of courses out there, I think it's great they have a real learning framework or like, okay, here's what you need to do when you watch these videos. But sometimes it's still like, well, I'm not really that confident. And particularly with ads, you've got to spend a bit of money. I mean, we found initially, and we've had to tweak and optimize things, but initially I think you were getting consults at like $30 or $40 or something crazy. People raising their hand and saying, yeah, I want to talk to you about this. And like we said before, not all of those are going to convert. You get more no's than yeses at a higher value. But what it does is it evens out over time so that you know that when you're putting in, say, a few $1,000s a month in Facebook ads, that you'd be getting, $10,000 or more. Otherwise, it's not worth putting the money in the ads if you're not getting a return. So I
Right,
think
right.
in being able to then go and scale that up is the real secret. But balancing it all, like you're juggling it while you're doing the clinic as well. And my aim is to just make sure that you're not in the clinic anymore. That's what I want to do.
I know. I
So
just want to say one other thing.
yeah.
Also, as a therapist, we don't do any kind of selling. It's like,
Mm.
it's very like, people call me and it's just like, it's just completely different. And we're
Yeah.
not allowed to kind of do that. And so that's been a big struggle for me. But you provided like scripts and templates and advice about that and helped me with my pricing structure and like like my fast action bonus and all those things that really work really well, and I don't feel like I'm selling,
Mm.
and it just feels like a really nice, graceful,
Yeah,
like
flow.
if
Yeah.
it fits, yes, and it just feels good.
Yeah, and the way that we sort of set those conversations up, they are actually like a therapist session, right? In that you're asking questions and diagnosing. It is in
Yeah,
by no means you only ever get to the invitation almost when they ask, or it transitions after, after the conversation has gone in and you've established that connection and you
right.
feel the pull of them coming towards you going, well, I need help, right? It really is about diagnosing the magnitude of their problem and also establishing the cost of them staying where they are. And this is the
Yeah,
critical piece in terms of converting people into higher level programs that I guess, there's a lot of talk out there about, hey, just reprice, and you can say, see ads all the time. You could sell like a $10,000 program. You could sell this, but without all the steps along the way of firstly engaging, being that personal brand, getting out to cold or warm traffic or whatever it might be, or consistently showing up on the front end so that people get a sense of who you are. And it doesn't mean you probably found this too in those initial sales, is that you can't go from cold to client in a matter of days. That happens to me quite frequently. I don't have a huge email list. I went through and cleaned it all up and kind of culled about 8,000 people out of my list, to be quite honest, and went, right, when I could really focus down, my list was much smaller, but then you've got ads. It doesn't matter what list
right.
size you are, you've got the ads and you can start that connection. Yeah.
Yeah, what it was shocking for me that someone would click on an ad who didn't know me,
Mm.
watch my webinar maybe that day or the next day, depending when they scheduled it,
Yep.
schedule a consultation call with me, and maybe 3 days, and within 3 days of just meeting me,
Yeah.
they're giving me $3,000 to work with me. And
Yeah.
that was like, what?
Yeah.
Like
Because
saying, and
you,
I was looking under my desk because
yeah.
I keep the script.
I love it.
Like, if I'm like right, I like still pull it out because there is a method, right?
Yeah,
There
it's a
are these things that
framework.
I, even as a therapist, I would never think of them. And so I've got to like, I follow the steps and go through it.
Good. Yeah, it's great to have that guide there. Like I find, if you're reading a script, it's hard to connect, but at least if you've got those points there and the questions to
Yes.
ask,
Yep.
like what's
Hmm.
next? Because it's easy
Right.
for us as well, I think, as experts to see the solution straight away, get in our heads and start spouting that solution.
Right.
That doesn't then bring people closer to the powerful transformation of working with you, because they either become a little confused, or be overwhelmed at the scope of what they have to do. So it's important to meet them where they are and really get their self-realization about what's not working for them, and get them thinking, well, okay, well, this is making sense. You seem to understand where I am. Like, well, how can I move forward? And,
Mhm.
you probably found this in the conversation where they just say, well, how can I work with you? Like,
Yeah.
that is
Like
not
what's
selling,
next?
right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
way,
Because that's why I follow the script, like you
yeah,
said, the outline of it.
yeah, and the framework.
But then they're like, what's next? Like,
Yeah.
what's our next step here?
It illuminates the issue, so
Mm.
that and also allows you to see, can I help those people too? So that's exactly what we were saying before. It's not a sales call. It's not about selling. It's a conversion call, right? If all goes well, the conversion rate generally is 25%. So say 1 in 4 people you speak to will say yes. So you can't get demoralized when people say no, because you might not have been able to help them. You might not have felt aligned with them either. Like, we kind of want to have a connection when we're working this way with people too, and B, they might not have the money, and that's just a fact of life for some people.
Mhm.
There's no shame in that. There's nothing you're doing wrong, and we definitely don't do anything to push people to get their last dollar. Like, that's ooh and yuck. I would never, you know what I mean? Like, and I know you
Right.
wouldn't either.
Oh, you
And
would
you just
never.
don't really
Yeah.
want to get in. It's not about pushing people into something that they're not ready for. That at every and that's the beauty of the webinar too, Kaylee, and I'm sure you would agree that it gives you a chance to really, at each point they're watching that and moving forward, because we have a very set framework for that too. Yes, we optimize some bits and pieces for you. At first, we probably put in a few too many steps, wanted to perhaps
Yeah.
lighten it up a little bit. And
Right.
so you'd be able to record it, give it to me. I could listen and straight away I go, I see, okay, we'll tweak that. And then I go, okay, Kayla, give me your slides. Let's move it. Okay, go again. So it was a real partnership in being able to shape that. But then what that tool does is really move people specifically through highlighting their problem, them self-selecting to say, hey, I like what you've got to say. I feel like I'm resonating with you as a person and your skills as well. So they get it before they're getting on the call. They have a real sense of who you are. You're not just cold calling people and going, hey, come in my $3,000 program.
Right. And I think they felt like they knew me too, right? So yeah, you're right. That webinar really creates that connection.
Yeah, like it really establishes your credibility, your authority, that reciprocity too. Like they feel like, well, because we set that up so that people can walk away thinking, wow, great information. I learned something. I saw exactly how this applied to somebody else, or the framework that I need to apply myself. And some people may choose to do it themselves and not, great, knock yourself out. But those who are like, yeah, hang on, well, that's made me think this, but now I need that next step, and then they'll come and talk to you in a totally different frame of mind than perhaps you've just they've just opted in for something and you've kind of sent them a couple of emails or something. It's like they actually have a deeper dive with you already. So I think that's an essential part too. We've also had other women in Mastermind Success Secrets like Maria do a workshop instead of a webinar. After doing webinar, she's like, just don't, I mean, you witness firsthand everyone freaking out about webinars, but and either we go, okay, let's go, or say, okay, well, Maria, why don't you do a live in-person thing? And she was able to convert those same framework into a live setting and still have the same kind of results. So, and you've seen people in the group as well. They're at different levels, and some people are up here, some people here, and maybe they go off on a tangent this way, and we bring them back.
And then they come back with like a giant breakthrough.
Yeah, right. And then they suddenly, and you can see, you're probably sitting there going, oh, I see their bullshit. I see their resistance. But then it makes you question your own bullshit and resistance, right? When you're in this kind of group. Because sometimes when you're just working mentor and mentee, it's like, I could say something to you and you might be like, oh, that's a bit harsh, or that's, oh, really? Okay, well, you can talk yourself out of it a little bit. But when you're seeing someone else exhibiting the very behavior that you're about to do, you sort of think, no, that is a bit of resistance. I need to move on through that. And I think that I've always found that super valuable in masterminds too, just watching other people's journey and seeing what's possible as well, I think is super important. So I love that sense of being able to witness other people's journey as well, whether, they're people you'd normally come across or not. It doesn't really matter. We're all sort of headed in the same space. So
create a super supportive, like vibrant group where people are, supporting each other and talking about their celebrations or talking about a place they need support. And it's a really vibrant group.
Yeah, it's great. So, and you're a valuable member of that and having contributed to that. So I thought it was a great chance to get you on and share your experience, because it's easy for me to say, hey, this is what's possible. But from someone who's actually taken the leap and brought that to fruition, I think it's important to share those lessons. So thank you, my love, for being part of it.
Thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Always. I absolutely love working with you. And I think the work that you do is so important. And if anyone is in that space of feeling like maybe they are a little out of control with their eating, or emotional eating comes up as a bit of an issue, then definitely I'll pop your link to your webinar actually in here. You're in the group too. We might pop that in the comments, the webinar, if someone wants to opt in.
Well, I'll do that.
See what you've got, or I'll find it or whatever. If you can, just pop it in.
Awesome.
I think that'd be good to, there's people in here that would definitely benefit from that, I'm sure. Not saying
Yeah,
everyone
and
definitely.
watch the webinar too. You'll be like, it's so casual and it's kind of like there's times I'm like stumbling or whatever. It's not perfect and it works.
Yeah.
That's what's amazing. It is not a perfect webinar at all, but
It's
it's
great.
working.
I think it's great. You're just, it's because it's you. It is. It's great. You did 5 versions of it. You did the blood, sweat, and tears to get there. And now you've got a conversion tool. Oh, Poonam's on as well. She's a psychologist down in Texas, actually, helping people with relationships. So she was
Oh,
definitely had some questions about how to transition out of that clinic
well,
kind
awesome.
of model as well. So I'm glad you can make it live, Poonam. I got your
Yeah.
email too, and I will be coming back to you. I just hadn't had a chance to. And there's Rachel, our other Mastermind Success Secrets member, who is coming on tomorrow to talk about her journey as well. So we've got people coming on to just sort of share experiences and how it works across different industries and different offers and different ways that we've been able to customize success for people. So I love that you're here, my love. Always good to see you, and enjoy the rest of your. I'm sure it's getting later in the evening now. Enjoy your evening. I'll let you go, and can't wait to chat soon. Okay,
Okay.
take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.